"Don't let the sheriff see me," she said, and the rancher finally understood why his mother vanished. The light above the bed flickered once, then stayed dim. The rancher sat at the edge of the mattress, one hand on hers, the other wiping sweat in from her forehead. Her breath came in shallow pulls. The room smelled like old pine and something sour beneath it. She opened her eyes. "Don't let the sheriff see me," she whispered. He blinked. "What?" Her fingers curled. "Don't let him see me." "Which sheriff? You know damn well." He looked at her quiet. "Mama, he's not here. Nobody's here but me." She shut her eyes. "Good." He leaned closer. "Why would he promise me?" He hesitated. "All right, say it. I won't let the sheriff see you." She gripped his hand harder than he thought she could. Her lips moved, but no sound came. He leaned in. "Mama." She exhaled once, like a release, then nothing. Her hand loosened. He didn't move for a while. He stood, walked slow to the wood stove, opened the lid. Ash drifted up. A burned photograph lay half-buried face down. He reached for it, then stopped. Let it stay in the embers. He turned to the shelf. The old Bible sat crooked. Pages were ripped out, whole sections missing. Something thick had stained the inside cover. He flipped. It shut. The wind pushed against the cabin walls. He moved to her bed, knelt down, reached underneath, pulled out a small tin box, sealed tight with rusted hinges and leather straps wrapped 3 times. No name on it. He stared at it. Didn't open it. Footsteps behind him. His ranch hand, Eli, stood in the doorway. "She gone?" "Yeah." Eli looked at the floor. "Want me to fetch the preacher?" "No." They stood in silence. Eli nodded once, walked off. The rancher stepped outside. The sun had just started falling behind the hills. Wind pushed through dry grass. The tin box stayed. In his hands, heavy and cold, he looked toward town, toward the ridge where the sheriff's house sat. He held the box tighter. The tin roof above him creaked in the wind. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just stood there, listening to the wind, like maybe it would explain something she never did. The truck rolled down Main slow, tires crunching gravel. The box sat in the passenger seat, still sealed, still cold. The rancher didn't look at it. He kept his eyes on the station up ahead. Paint peeling, flag limp, one cruiser out front. He parked, killed the engine, took off his hat, ran a hand through his hair, then walked in. The sheriff was already standing. Behind the desk, framed by a dusty window, hat on, tie tight, not a speck of dust on him. "Morning," the sheriff said. The rancher nodded. "Figured I'd come by." "You're not in trouble, are you?" "No." The sheriff watched him. "I heard about your mama. She passed last night. How'd she go?" The rancher paused. "She went quiet." The sheriff didn't blink. She always was. Neither man sat. The room stayed still. "I hadn't seen her in, hell, 41 years, the sheriff said. "That right? Last time she came in here asking about a missing girl. That name ever come up?" "No." The sheriff nodded like he didn't believe it. "Your mama never did take to staying in line." "She raised me fine. I'm sure she did." Silence. Again, the hum of a busted ceiling fan above. "You keeping the place?" "For now. She left you the house. She left me what she had." The sheriff stepped out from behind the desk, walked slow, close enough to smell old cologne. "If you find anything out of place, best bring it here." "I didn't say I was looking." "Just saying. People start digging. They don't always like what they find." The rancher nodded once. "Appreciate the concern." He left without shaking hands. Back in the truck, he sat a while, watched the sheriff's window. The man didn't move. The rancher finally turned to the box, undid the leather, opened it. Inside, folded neat, was a ribbon, dark red, stiff with something dried. Beneath it a letter, paper yellowed. The front read one word, written small and crooked. G. The paper trembled between his hands. The ribbon slid off his knee, landed on the floorboard. He didn't pick it up. His thumb pressed the corner of the letter, unfolding it slow. The handwriting was sharp, hurried, uneven. They say I shamed us, but it was him. It was always him. He wore the badge like a crown. Don't let him touch my son. The rancher blinked, read it again, every line smaller than the last. His breath caught when he saw the date scrawled at the top, 6 months before he was born. His hand fell to the seat. He stared at nothing. You told me to keep my mouth shut. So I did. But you didn't. Stop him. You drank and looked away. And he came back again and again. One day I bled so hard I thought I'd die. He heard her voice now, not on the page, but from the rocker out front, the one she used when the wind picked up. You ever love him? He'd asked once, years ago. No, she'd said. Back then he thought it meant his father. Now he wasn't so sure. He leaned his head back, eyes closed. What are you going to do? She asked from that old memory. He answered himself. Figure it out. You going to tell anyone? No. You afraid of him? The rancher opened. His eyes. Not anymore. You ought to be. He folded the letter slow, slid it back inside the box. His fingers brushed the blood-stained ribbon. He left it where it was. He stepped out of the truck, boots heavy on the gravel, walked toward the town square without thinking. The wind had picked up. The air smelled dry. He stopped in front of the war memorial. Names carved deep in the stone. He found his grandfather's. 2 lines above it, he found another. Sheriff John C. Hardin, Sr. He stared at the name. Same last name, same badge. The wind blew harder. He didn't move, just stared. The stone didn't blink. Neither did he. The name was barely legible. Greta L., written small, almost like an afterthought in the bottom corner of the letter. But it stuck. He folded the page, drove to the courthouse. The records office smelled like mold and mothballs. An old woman sat behind the counter, eyes cloudy but sharp. Looking for someone, he said. Who? Greta. Last name starts with L. She didn't blink. What for? She knew my mother. That's so. You got anything? She stood slow, shuffled to the file drawers, opened one marked Deceased Unknown, thumbed through, stopped, pulled a manila folder. Thin, Greta Langley, she said. Never married, never left. But she's not here. No. What happened? She stared past him. Walked into the creek one night. Some say she floated. She die? Not officially. No body? No proof. Just gone? She was quiet, like your mama. Folks don't like that. He took the folder, 2 pieces of paper inside, 1 photo. The image was faded, but it hit hard. His mother and another girl on horseback, both young, both smiling like they didn't yet know how the world worked. Same ribbons in their hair, same color. One of them sat in the tin box. He took the photo, left the rest. That night, he lit a lantern in the barn. The horses stirred, but didn't. Spook. He pulled the old saddle off the rack, the one his mother never let him touch, held it under the light. Dust fell from the leather. He ran his fingers under the stirrup. Something was scratched there, shallow but clear. Greta. He stared at the name until the flame flickered. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He crossed the field at dusk, grass dry underfoot. The barn stood quiet behind him. The well waited in the clearing like it always had, round stone lip, boards nailed over in a crooked X. His boots stopped just shy of the edge. You stay away from there, his mother once told him. That place remembers. He crouched, pulled at the boards. They groaned, then snapped, one after the other. Nails rusted through. The last came loose with a crack. No rope, just a rusted chain, frayed at the end, half buried in mud. He pulled it slow. A locket caught in the links, black with time. He wiped it clean on his shirt, opened it. 2 photos, one of Greta, one of his mother. Faces pressed close, eyes soft, like the world hadn't touched them yet. Something slipped out. A folded scrap of paper. No. A drawing, a child's drawing. Stick figures, A woman in a blue dress, a man in a wide hat. Red scribbled in the man's, and he didn't need to guess. Footsteps behind him. "Eli, you ain't supposed to open that," Eli said. "Why not?" "Your mama said so. She ain't here now. You dig too deep, you end up where your mama went." "Where's that?" Eli looked down. In silence, the rancher stood, held up the drawing. "You ever see this?" Eli shook his head. "Ain't mine." "Whose was it?" "Don't know. Maybe hers. She have a kid?" "Not that I ever heard." The rancher looked back at the well. Wind stirred the trees. The chain rattled faintly. Eli cleared his throat. "Some things ain't meant to be brought up." The rancher didn't answer, just held the locket tighter. Eli walked off, left him standing there. He looked down into the open well. Couldn't see the bottom, just darkness. Old, still, waiting. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just stood there and listened. The paper crackled in his hands, edges browned, headline barely legible. "House fire claims 2. No foul play suspected." He read it again. Small farmhouse. 2 men inside. Fire started after midnight. Nothing suspicious. No arrests. Week of October 3rd. Same week Greta vanished. He folded the clipping, slid it back in the glove box, and shut it hard. The church lot was full. Long tables lined with foil pans, fried catfish, potato salad, lemonade in glass jugs, children running, laughter. He found the sheriff near the smokers, white apron over his press shirt, hat still on. "Sheriff," the rancher said. The sheriff looked up, half smile. "Evening. You remember Greta?" The sheriff didn't answer right away. Wiped his hands. "On a towel. That girl, she was wild. She vanished the same week your uncle's place burned down. Coincidence." "You think so?" The sheriff held his stare. "What are you trying to say?" "Did my mother set the fire?" People nearby stopped talking. Plates hovered in midair. "That'd be quite the thing to say in public," the sheriff said. "She ever come see you after?" "She knew better." "Did you put her in that well?" The sheriff stepped closer. "Watch your mouth." The wind picked up. A napkin blew off a table. "She wrote a letter," the rancher said. "Said it was always you. You don't know what she meant." "I think I do." She was sick in the head. She was afraid. She was nothing. The rancher didn't move. The sheriff leaned in, smelled of grease and cold sweat. Whispered, "She should have stayed dead. Some women just don't know how to." The rancher stared at him, didn't blink, didn't flinch. He turned and walked off, boots crunching gravel. Behind him, nobody spoke, nobody moved. The letterhead was folded tight behind the ribbon. Gold seal at the top. Governor's office, dated 28 years back. No note, just initials scrawled at the bottom. He packed a bag, fueled the truck, and headed east. The capital felt colder. Stone buildings and quiet security. He asked for access. They told him nothing was available, records sealed, appointments booked out. No one would look him in the eye. He waited outside the back steps until dusk. A woman stepped out slow, coat draped over one arm, keys in hand, hair white, eyes sharp. "You waiting on someone?" she asked. "Someone who won't talk to me." She tilted her head. "What's your name?" He told her. She nodded once. "Your mother came here." "When?" "Long time ago." "She meet the governor?" "She did." "What'd she tell him?" "Everything." "And?" "He gave the sheriff a promotion." The rancher's jaw tensed. "He knew." She showed him bruises, names, letters. He said it was a local matter. He let it go. Worse, he made it disappear. The woman reached into her coat pocket, pulled a torn index card, yellowed, creased in the middle. "She gave me this, said I'd know when to pass it on." He unfolded it. 4 words in faded ink. "If I disappear, ask the well." He looked up at her. "Your mama wasn't crazy," she said. "Just too brave for this place." He nodded once. Didn't thank her. Outside, thunder rolled low behind the hills. He climbed into the truck, started the engine. The card stayed on the dash, rattling each time the wheels hit a bump. By the time he crossed back into county lines, lightning was lighting the ridge like a war was coming. And maybe it was. The storm rolled in hard, thunder low, slow, crawling across the ridge. The rancher stood at the well's edge, rope coiled over his shoulder, lantern flickering in one hand. Rain hadn't started, but it would. He tied off, braced his boots, and began lowering himself down. Stone walls closed in. Air turned wet and sour. The lantern swung, light bouncing off moss and bone. He hit bottom. Mud sucked at his boots. He crouched, lifted the beam. Bones, small, long buried, not alone. A revolver lay rusted beside them. Cylinder stuck, barrel black with rot. Near it, half buried, a second tin box. Same shape as the first, but older, rusted to hell. He pried it open. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was a journal, leather soft from time. He flipped it open. The ink bled in spots, but her voice came through. He said I owed him silence. I gave it. To survive, Greta told me we could burn it all down. I believed her. She kissed me once, in the hayloft, said I was brave. I wasn't. Not yet. We made a plan. I set the fire. She never made it out. I buried what I could, and what I couldn't. I drowned. He flipped faster. Page after page. Names, dates. Shame turned solid. The final entry shook in his hand. If my son finds this, know that I never stopped watching, and I never forgave the sheriff. Lightning cracked overhead. He looked up, rope slick, hands raw. He climbed, out slow, journal tucked to his chest. Rain hit his face halfway up. By the time he reached the rim, he was soaked through. Headlights hit him, high beams, close. The sheriff's truck sat just beyond the fence line, engine idling, lights unmoving. Rain slammed the earth. The rancher stepped forward, soaked, journal, still clutched to his chest. The sheriff stood just past the fence, boots sinking in mud, hand resting easy on his hip. You think you know something now? The sheriff called. I know what she buried, and what she saved. You read a diary, that don't make it truth. She wrote it in blood. She was sick. She was right. The sheriff took a step closer. That woman cost me everything. You earned it. You think the town will believe you? I don't care if they do. She set a fire, killed 2 men. You raped a child. You ain't got proof. I got her words. The sheriff scoffed. Words don't stick. They will. The rancher dropped the journal in the mud, hand shifting toward his waist. You sure you want to go there, boy? I ain't a boy. No, I guess you ain't. The sheriff's hand twitched. Gun came up. One shot cracked through the storm. The sheriff fell back, arms wide, knees giving. His gun landed beside him in the mud. Badge clattered loose from his coat, rolled toward the well, and dropped in. Rain didn't stop. The rancher didn't move for a while, just watched the body, watched the dark pool grow around it. Then he turned, walked away. No words, no noise, just boots in the rain and a badge sinking deep. The next morning was quiet. The air smelled like wet earth and ash. The rancher knelt by the well with a bag of seed in one hand, the other pressing into soft soil. He planted slow, wildflower by wildflower, purple, yellow, blue, colors she never got to wear. He stood when it was done, drove into town, walked into the law office without knocking. The lawyer looked up from his desk. I need a name on a stone. The rancher said, Who for? Greta Langley. The man raised an eyebrow. You kin. She was family. Back on the ranch, Eli stood by the barn, watching storm clouds drift away. You get it all done? He asked. Not yet. Eli nodded. So, what now? The rancher looked toward the north field. The gate hadn't been opened since his mother. Closed it. Now she rests. For real this time. He walked over, pulled the chain from the post. The metal groaned as the gate swung wide. He opened the stall doors. The horses didn't rush. They walked out calm, like they knew. One by one, they crossed into the tall grass and disappeared over the ridge. The wind picked up. In the house, the journal lay open on the table. Last page fluttering in the breeze. If they ever ask where I went, the final line read, "Tell them I rode west. Tell them I took the fire with me." The rancher stood at the fence line, hat in hand, watching the sky. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just stayed there a while, long enough for the flowers to start blooming.